disciples of the Watch.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Disciples of the Watch podcast, where we talk rock and metal and play tunes from independent artists from all over the globe. And now your hosts, Gene Vogel and Nate Matnich.
Disciples, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Disciples of the Watch.
On this episode, I will be sharing a tune. Then we'll chat about things happening recently in the news.
We'll also enjoy some independent music from the Headless Ghost and the Rods.
Then we'll wrap the show discussing Loudersounds' list of 10 metal one-hit wonders. I'm Nate Matnich.
And now, Gene Vogel, thank you for joining us. Nate, it feels like it's been a while, but it hasn't. Then again, it seems like it rushes up on us too. It's a mixed bag for me, I guess. I'm broken.
Yeah, man. 2 weeks goes quick for me, anyways.
Yeah, it does for me
The
as
older
well.
I get, the faster time goes.
That's true.
Or the feeling of time. Or
Yes, we're veterans on this planet that's orbiting this solar system. That time is no longer. It doesn't feel like it's so long between birthdays. Remember when you were a kid, it felt like it was forever between your birthdays and Christmas.
Totally.
And now it's like, shit, it's Christmas already. Didn't we just celebrate Christmas? Now we got another one. What the fuck? That's how I feel,
yeah,
at least.
man. Oh yeah, totally. Fucking A, man. You're young and the days are long, and you get old and you're racing towards death, man.
Yep, working for the man every night and day, like Tina said. So what's been happening in your world lately? Let's play a little catch-up.
Well, so I live in a condo complex. You know, they're kind of like townhome-sized condos. We don't have, yards or whatever. You just got like this little 3-foot by 8-foot little concrete pad with a fence,
Oh, really?
You can't even really put a chair out there. They do allow you to like build out your patio. So we had a deck built, and they're almost done with it now. They got to put like a gate on and then paint it, but otherwise it's it's all put in.
Nice.
It's amazing how different it looks, just like looking out our sliding glass now with like a new deck and new fence and everything like that, because the other one was pretty fucking run down looking.
Fabulous. Upgrades.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have an outside spot to sit this summer for sure. We had like this little area right in front of our front door where we had a couple of chairs and a small table, but I'm fine with smiling and saying hi to my neighbors and stuff, but sometimes I just want to sit outside and not have to be talking to them. So I got a new spot.
I can understand that.
And about a month ago, man, I was sitting in my living room and I was looking around and I was just thinking, man, it just looks so fucking drab in here. Like, the people that we bought it from, as we had learned from one of our neighbors, was essentially a slumlord.
Really?
Like everything was just really cheap and bottom of the barrel in here. We've had to we replaced every appliance when we moved in, and like the carpeting was like the cheapest grade possible, and so we've replaced some of that with flooring and different flooring and whatnot. But anyways, it was whitewashed.
Denver slumlords, my
God. It looked
God.
like they just taped everything off and just completely painted everything white. And it was eggshell. So you can't like clean it if it gets any stains on it or anything. But anyways, it was just looking drab. We painted our whole main level and put up all new blinds, really nice blinds and new curtains, and just like totally changed our main living space,
Damn.
It feels really good, but it's been a 2-week project because last weekend I did it. We all painted, me and Leslie and Zach, and then of course we missed spots, and I also painted our fireplace mantle. So I did that this weekend and did touch-ups and shit. So I think we're finally done now.
How decent of a painter are you?
I'm pretty good. Like the first week was really good because I took the time to really tape stuff. I cut some corners here yesterday, and I ended up fucking kind of making a mess. So
geez.
that's just how it goes. But typically I tape really well, and then you can just like, you can use the roller or whatever to just get right up on the edges, and you barely even have to fuck around with like going back and doing edges and shit like that. But I've been doing it since I was, a teenager at various times in my life.
Well, huffing paint and painting are two different things, Nate.
Yeah, huffing. Never big on the huffing.
Yeah, same here.
I wanted to mention that the singer of Leeway passed away from cancer at 59 years old.
Yeah, I saw
They have
that.
a song called Snitches Get Stitches. Are you familiar with Leeway?
Yes, I am. Only very vaguely, though.
Yeah.
A song here or there, and that's been pretty much it.
Yeah, I don't own any of their music. I have like a ripped copy on a CD of the album that's got Snitches with Good Stitches. I think they're kind of like a crossover band, like DRI type, but they're from New York, I believe.
Yeah, 59. That's pretty dang young. But cancer, man, shit, that can take anybody in any age.
Yep. He battled it 4 years, it says. He was dealing with it for a bit, and it just sounds miserable from, what I hear from people who've had it and went through the treatments and all that good stuff.
Damn.
Oh, I wanted to mention something else too, totally random, but Leslie and I watched this series on Hulu called Dope Sick. I've heard about it for a while, and I finally watched it. It's about the Purdue pharmaceutical company, which is owned by the Sackler family, and they introduced Oxycontin into the world, and it's the story about that. You get a really good idea of how these huge corporations with all this money, they basically are able to buy enough influence within the government to essentially lie, about a really dangerous product. In this case, it started the whole opiate epidemic in the late 90s and now all the way through, I think, still till today. But,
yeah,
there's some really wild shit. So anyways, if that, I've known that stuff's been going on, but the fact that they kind of like put out a TV series about it, I thought was interesting. And you can look into this too with other companies, like other large like companies like Monsanto and like Pfizer and different companies like that, where basically people like in the FDA get promised jobs with these companies for really high money by looking the other way on things. That was a deal with this whole pharmaceutical thing with the Oxycontin. And I've also have heard quite a few stories about that happening in other high-level companies too, which is fucking crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it sounds par for the course.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the people who are supposed to be looking out for you can actually be bought off, Like there's people who have enough wealth now that they can really buy people off. And then the people who tried to fucking expose these people, like the shit that they had to go through to be able to even get them exposed at all was just like brutal. Like 10 years these guys were fucking trying to expose this company.
Well, yeah, you see that one was it Boeing, the guy who was talking about all their issues and planes, having problems and bolts and shit flying off and panels from planes or doors or whatever falling off. He's dead. So he was fighting the good fight, and then they're just like, yeah, you're done. Of course, they staged it as a suicide, but he laid the groundwork for that. He's like, I would never kill myself. I'm going to see this through. And then all of a sudden, they're like, hey, can you stick around one more day? We want to get a little more information from you. So he, instead of flying back out and going back to his mother's, he stuck around, and then they found him dead. And so he won't be squealing anymore.
Crazy, man. Wild world we live in. That's
a fact. Speaking of wild world, have you got to hear that new Motley Crue song?
Oh, man. I did listen to it today, actually. You'd asked me if I listened to it, and I'd only heard like a clip of it. I think it's garbage, but I do want to say that the riff right at the beginning is kind of heavy, and I almost thought maybe this is going to be okay, and then it just completely fucking falls apart from there. I did like the lead as well. I thought the lead was sounded really good, and that is absolutely it. There's no hook. There's no hook or anything. It's just shit. But Motley Crue hasn't really meant anything to me since Girls, Girls, Girls anyways, so.
Yeah, good point. Although I did like the John Corabi album. But yeah, I was not, I don't even know if I made it to the lead. I turned it off I was like, fuck this. I don't need to listen to this. It's trash. And there, the lead wouldn't have redeemed it at that point. It's like, once you get through the chorus, if it's not there, the lead can only enhance that. You can't fix such a broken piece of shit. And I know people out there are digging it, but man, I am not one of those people. I will not buy this album. I will give it a spin. I'll go track by track on it, even if we want to, but I definitely am not going to waste my time spending or money on this. So that sounds like, as much as I like John 5, almost said John Corabi again, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a saving grace for the album. And lyrically, I think it's even kind of lame too. And I like lyrics.
Lyrics are lame, and then I see people now, I suppose this is going to become more and more common, but they're making accusations that it's like AI doing Vince's vocals. It's not even him actually singing on there. But there is enough like layering going on and kind of manipulating of the vocals that, they're making it kind of sound like him, but it does sound super
sketchy,
generated, or you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, they've always had to do studio work with Vince.
Yeah.
You hear him live, and that's the real deal from Holyfield right there. Same with like Stephen Piercy, and there's a few of those guys. Don Dokken. Well, maybe Don in the 80s and 90s may have been all right, but I don't know. At one point, it was like, Jesus Christ, dude. There's studio magic, and then there's some fucking black magic going on in the studio for some of these guys.
Yeah, when YouTube, really first started getting a lot of different content on it, I remember seeing or watching Motley Crue playing live from like the Shout at the Devil era. And it was then that I realized that Vince's vocals he didn't sound good live to me then either.
Yeah, at least the band made up for it. And it was more, back then it was more real. It was more organic. And now it's all click tracky and it's too polished and it's too, but then again, they were selling now. I don't know if anybody's really touching them. I mean, Def Leppard finally cut ties with them. And yeah, it's, I don't know. We'll see what happens when they come out with this. I know the film or the Netflix or whatever the hell, that helped them, The Dirt, when that came out. That's when they decided they were going to lie and say, well, we're not going to really retire. We're coming back. I mean, it's not a lie. Of course, they just were being dicks. I don't know. There's probably a better terminology that I'm not thinking of at the moment. But, to each his own. But, to make a big grandstand of it and tell everybody this is your final tour and there's no backing out of it and all that bullshit that they went through, I lost a lot of respect for those guys, even more so. I mean, and it was already getting down there between fucking Tommy and Vince Neil and Nikki Sixx. There wasn't much respect left for me in that band.
Yeah. When you look at kind of the history of them here, later history, they really are just living off their old days.
Yes. Whenever
there's news about them, it's always tied up with, how much Nikki was a heroin addict and, and this, that certain specific stories around their behavior that seem to just always get brought up around them. It's not like they're coming out with killer, music or any of that stuff. They have to just keep coming up with or Tommy Lee's got to flash his dick or have his girlfriend show her tits or something, just to somehow keep them relevant when really I just don't feel like they have been for a super long time. But
it's distractions for making horrible music.
Girls was the last really album that I ever got of theirs that I really liked. And even to this day, like, I think I like Theater of Pain more than I even like Girls.
Really?
Which would have been different back in the day. But anyways, they've
jumped the shark.
They jumped the shark.
Yep.
And they're not going to get back with this new song either, unfortunately.
Nope. I was wondering if John 5 would breathe new life into the band, but it's just more, I guess with Nikki being the primary songwriter, it is what it is. Now the music is only made for him to sell books.
Did you know he did heroin?
I heard something about that.
Did you know he died and then he went back and did it again?
Yeah. Does he bring that up in every interview? Jesus Christ, dude. Now, moving on from all that noise, you mentioned a show, and that brought to memory one that Angel and I have been playing with called Resident Alien, and it's on Sci-Fi apparently, but we've been watching it on, I think it's Paramount, and it features Alan Tudyk, who was part of the Firefly series and then the subsequent movie. So very fun guy, actor. One of those actors you see him and you go, this is probably going to be pretty good because this guy is going to carry the weight. And sure enough, this show, and he doesn't even need to carry the weight because there's a lot of good people in this show, and it's a very fun show. So I'd say if you like, it's not even sci-fi. It's just basically this alien coming to the planet and then kind of gets stuck here. And he takes on the form of a doctor who is Alan Tudyk, and it's just shenanigans ensues. It's a lot of fun. So I'd say if you haven't checked it out, give it a spin. Angel and I both enjoy that. And I think there's 3 seasons out right now. So that's how far behind I am. And then there will be a 4th at the very least, but I don't know. It seems like it's gaining momentum, so we'll see what happens, but at least a 4th season. It's been a lot of fun. I just want to mention that to a counterbalance between that of the bummer of a show that you've been watching with the docu-series. But I understand those are fun to watch too, just because it makes you pissed off going, what the fuck are we doing here, folks? And the one last thing I do want to mention before we move on is I have been asked to join KFAI to participate as one of the rotating DJs on the Root of All Evil, which means I'll get certified and all that stuff. So I'm probably going to do it. I know they need the help. They'd like an extra body, and I enjoy doing it. Plus, I already do so much work with the show here that for me to bring a lot of these independent bands over to them is easy. So there'll be a little bit of carryover from the podcast into KFAI. And I do that, I try to bring as much independent music as I can, but I'll find a balance because I don't want people just to tune in and go, oh, here's a bunch of independent bands I don't have any history with, and sometimes that's what will click with people. So we'll find a balance. We'll see what happens. I won't be running my own show for a long time, but I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think this is the carrot at the end of that stick, so to speak.
That's super cool, man. Seriously cool.
Yeah, we'll see if it all shakes out, but I've been officially asked to participate. So, goddamn, that show's been going since 1987 here in the Twin Cities. KFAI.org. If you're not in the Twin Cities, you can listen to it. There's a variety of stuff, but there's 2 metal shows, one on Thursday nights, and that's the Roar of the Underground. And then Saturday night, which is technically in the Twin Cities area here, is Sunday morning at 1 a.m. The Root of All Evil kicks off Central Time. And it's 5 hours. It's been going since 1987, started by Earl Root. May he rest in peace. So, Nate, what have you got new lately?
I got a pile a little bit. But first I want to mention I got Alice in Chains, Jar of Flies. I ordered it on Amazon. It's really warped. So I had him send me a new copy, and it is also warped. So that got me looking into like record flatteners, because I have noticed, like those cheap thin records from the old days, those were rarely warped. It seems like these new ones, especially the thicker ones, tend to have warping a lot more, and I just think it's really unfortunate. My record player, my Audio Technica, that one I don't really notice it when I play it on there, but my Victrola upstairs is much more sensitive, and you can hear that it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to order this record flattener. You put it in this thing, you screw it shut, and then there's a heated sleeve you tuck it into. It's
those aren't
supposed
cheap,
to guaranteed to, this one is like $170 for the flattener, and then another like $90 for the heated bag. But I'm going to do it because of how much I fucking am getting of records. I got warp in them,
Well, and then if you go to a record store and they list something used but warped, it's like, shit, yeah, I'll save a few bucks picking up this warped one and use my straightener on it.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it works because I'm going to give it a shot. So Friday I went to the local record store I've mentioned many times here in Lakewood, Colorado, called Chain Reaction. It's a punk rock, heavy metal record store. And I wanted to get the new Dark Throne. It beckons us all. And their shipment was late. But then I saw it this morning early that they posted a picture that they had it. So I figured that must have come yesterday. So I went there today and I picked up the Dark Throne. It beckons us all. I picked up Testaments, the New Order, the new release that I see you also got that. And then I got Deicide's latest, Banished by Sin, supporting artificial intelligence artists. There's all that controversy over the record being the record artwork being AI generated, which Glenn said there is some AI usage in there, and he said that he's always been into computer manipulated artwork since back even in the old days. So he says he doesn't have a fucking problem with using AI in his art. Fun fact. Anyways, I've only got a few songs into it, and it's surprisingly really good. I wasn't sure, but I have been hearing a lot of people say that it's very, very good. It's full of inspired songs, and so far, right out, first few songs into it. Like I said, I just got it here a little bit before we started recording today, and but it sounds really good. The Dark Throne sounds fucking amazing. There's a song at the very end called The Lone Pines of the Lost Planet, and it is just fucking epic, like old school heavy metal and doom. And the whole vibe of this album is that. Dark Throne is definitely a band that when they come out with a new record, I already know I'm going to buy it no matter what. And I have not been disappointed. So
nice.
They kind of, they change it up. And if you listen to anything that Fenriz is talking about around the time of the album, he's usually talking about which bands they were listening to the most at that time and what was kind of influencing that album for them, which I always appreciate. I also picked up Bathory's Under the Sign of the Black Mark, which has been on my list for a while, and I finally saw that in the new arrival bin at Chain Reaction, so I picked that up, and I also got DRI's Dealing With It.
Nice.
Yeah. got a good haul, new stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely outdid me. I just have Testament's New Order on, which, yeah, we both got that. Yours, I'm assuming it's the same. I think it's all the same print, isn't it? With the splatter.
Cyan splatter, it says.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah, my splatter looks awesome, by the way. If they're all looking that good, it's going to be pretty sweet looking. But of course, the most important thing is the music, and I that's one of those albums that every time I listen to it, I'm like, I don't know if there's not a weak song on here. I mean, there's only a few, like, I'm going to say, like, home run songs, but, you know, it's from cover to cover. It's like, there's no point. You can't convince me that there's any song on there that needs to be skipped.
Yeah, it's a really good one. No doubt. Classic.
Yes. Yeah. Done very well. Great leads, the whole package. I really dig it. I also picked up Candlemass's Ancient Dreams on vinyl, some of the early Candlemass has been on my list for a long time. And I've skipped them for such a long time, and then all of a sudden there was a sale. So I thought, well, now I can't skip it. I got to just buy that. So I'm glad to have that. And then I also picked up Alice in Chains' Jar of Flies. And now you got me wondering if I paid enough attention to the warp factor, but I think mine's pretty decent.
I mean, you know how unique Lane's vocals are. So when I put it on to listen to it, his voice sounded low, like lower than what you would expect. And I'm like, what in the fuck is going on here? You know, is this like, is it a 45 and I'm playing it on the wrong speed? And I'm like looking, and then I look, and it's like, sure enough, is this significant warp in it. It must have been a whole batch, because they sent me a new one here, the next day when I requested a return, and the next one is the same way.
That sucks. Well, speaking of disappointment, I had to cancel my Rush order from Merch Bar after 2 months of waiting, over 2 months of waiting for that fucking thing to be delivered. I finally just canceled the order. I said, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Although I did place a replacement order for the Black Sabbath box set that's coming out. So I kind of just swapped a group of Rush albums for the box set for the Black Sabbath Tony Martin era.
Yeah, when does that come out? At the end of May?
Sometime in May. I'm blanking on exactly when.
I want to try to remember that one and make sure I pick that up.
May 31st. So yes, you're right. The end of May. It'll be here before you know it, kids. So Nate, you ready to listen to some music?
Yeah, I've been excited to share this one.
Nice.
It's time for What's Nate Been Listening To? Where we check in to see what Nate's been listening to lately. And ladies, he definitely likes to share. On the Disciples of the Watch podcast.
Ooh.
I had mentioned probably a couple episodes ago, before the last episode we did before Judas Priest, I had picked up this album called Mystifier by, this album called Wicca by the band Mystifier. And they're a Brazilian band from 1992, and they're like, foundational black metal, I guess they're considered. And they kind of missed my radar back in the day, because I was really getting into a lot of that stuff. But I will say that I think I was way more in tune with the death metal scene. And just in general, a lot of death metal albums were, I guess, more accessible at record stores. I didn't really recall seeing a lot of black metal that was also coming out right at this, around that same time. And a lot of those bands from both genres kind of growing from similar foundational bands like this band and Sepultura and Creator and Sodom and Destruction and all that stuff. Venom, Bathory. Anyways, I immediately listened to Wicca when I read about it, and I'm just been pretty obsessed with it. I listened to it quite a bit. I've been wanting to share a song off of it, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's going to be the intro, and then it goes into the first song. So the song is called The Witch Voicin' Recites Our Gloat. That's the intro. And then the song is Osculum Obscenum from the album Wicca.
The glorious aim of
All right, that was the Witch Voice and Recites Our Gloat intro and the song Osculum Obscenum by the band Mystifier from the album Wicca from 1992. They are Brazilian. It's a really killer album. I bought the there's like a remaster issue on vinyl that I got. It sounds really fucking good for being, you know, kind of a primitive sounding metal.
Yeah,
But
nice.
yeah, I've been just listening to this one a lot. Hope it, you know, somebody liked it.
All right, should we talk some news?
Yeah, what's been happening out there?
And now, the news on Disciples of the Watch.
Well, what's been happening out there is Flotsam and Jetsam are still going, and they have announced a new studio album. And according to them, we put a great amount of effort and thought into the music. I don't know how that differs from other releases, but that's part of the headline there, folks.
They felt like they had to say that.
I guess. So following 2021's Blood in the Water, so we're not too far off. So they're on a cycle, and it's working out pretty good. Veteran Arizona thrashers Flotsam and Jetsam have shared a first single taken off their forthcoming 15th studio album entitled I Am the Weapon. That is slated for a 2024 release via AFM Records. And the lyric video for the album's title track can be found on our website. We'll have links to it at dotwpod.com, or you can, of course, search for it if your heart so desires. More album details and pre-order options will be revealed on May 24th. At the same time, a repress of the band's 2016 album, Flotsam and Jetsam, will be issued as a strictly limited clear gatefold 2 vinyl LP. I actually have that one, so I was an early adopter. That's one what they did with Jason Bittner of Overkill fame on the drums.
I don't think I have any Flotsam and Jetsam, though. I wanted to get No Place for Disgrace because I had put one of those songs on a playlist, and I've been coming up and hearing it a lot lately, and always really enjoyed that album.
So, Dave, you see the album cover there that I put in our notes? What do you think of that?
Yeah, it looks like they were watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah, their last album, I was not impressed with the artwork, and this album, I am not impressed with the artwork. Now, that album that they mentioned, the self-titled album they put out in 2016, it was a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? There's not much going on there, and it worked out just fine. But yeah, the last one was kind of weird, and this one, I'm not impressed.
Is that Daenerys Targaryen on his back?
Yeah, I can't quite make that out, so I'm not sure. So moving on here, the band comments, we are very excited about the new album, I Am the Weapon. We put a great amount of effort and thought into the music, and we can't wait to start unleashing this metal assault on the music community. It's been almost 40 years since Flotsam and Jetsam, formed in Phoenix, Arizona, released their landmark debut, Doomsday for the Deceiver, the only album to ever receive a 6K rating from the influential British magazine Kerrang. Did not know that.
Ooh.
Bassist Jason Newsted would jump ship to Metallica while the band released the unstoppable No Place for Disgrace in 1988, Quattro in 1992, Drift in 95, High in 97, and My God in 2001. All still rank extremely high in heavy metal circles. I'm not sure about all, but damn, Quattro, Drift, No Place for Disgrace, High was pretty decent too. Kind of, I think, a little bit influenced on the musical stuff that was going on in the 90s. At least not maybe a little bit Quattro, but I don't know, man. Waiting Through the Darkness is such a kick-ass song. I like that whole album, actually. And I like Eric K.K.'s vocals, too. I think he's a decent songwriter and a decent singer. So I'm digging those guys. I mean, some of the song lyrically can be a little bit funky. This song, I did listen to it. It's pretty thrashy. It kind of follows along the previous album as far as that song in particular. Oh, and I digress. So here it says, but it was the first part of this unofficial trilogy in 2016's self-titled Flotsam and Jetsam that a certain rejuvenation and reset was clearly felt. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that part of that long gap there was Eric A.K. wondering if he even had a place in the music industry. He was getting ready to walk away and shut down Flotsam and Jetsam, if I am not mistaken. And then 2016, boom, and they came back strong with that album. At least that's from what I recall on it, and I was clearly a fan of it as well. So they released Blood and Water in 2021, and now we're about to see 2024 here with I Am the Weapon. So stay tuned for that, and we'll have a link, as I said, in the show notes that you can check out I Am the Weapon if you haven't done so already while I've been talking. Oh, and other classic metal news, I forgot I added this little addendum here. Armored Saint has re-signed with Brian Slagle's Metal Blade Records. So Metal Blade, they released Armored Saint's 1983 eponymous debut EP, And the band has called Metal Blade home since 1988's Saints Will Conquer live album. So it was a little bit of a break there, and then they've been back ever since 98. So that's awesome that they've been part of Metal Blade since. Of course, they took a pretty good break there in the 90s. John was busy with, what was that little band he was part of back in the 90s, in early 2000s, Nate? God, starts with an A.
Anthrax.
There you go, Anthrax.
Anvil? No.
They could have used him. Anvil could have definitely used John, but I was grateful for his time in Anthrax. Did some great music together. Although, and John keeps bringing that up, he wants to do a solo Anthrax run or participate with a co-headlining tour, co-tour with Anthrax, and do something with them with his songs, since Joey doesn't sing them, and I don't think Joey should. I think they're very suited for John's voice, and I would be much happier as a fan hearing John singing those lyrics live and participating in that. We'll see what happens, but I won't be holding my breath. But at any rate, more Metal Blade, more Armored Saint, I should say, and more Flotsam and Jetsam.
I only want to see it if they're both on stage together, trading off parts of the lyrics like Wu-Tang and stuff does. Where they each got a verse. They're laying down bars. That's the only version of that I'm interested in.
They got Ball of Confusion.
People didn't understand it. Dave Mustaine says this Megadeth album was ahead of its time and laments the lack of young talent.
Dave's married.
Dave Mustaine suggests that Megadeth's debut album was ahead of its time and explained the key reason why his band managed to stay so successful for so long. Speaking to Lucia Cepena of Paraguay's Trace Channel, in a recent interview, Dave Mustaine singled out the band's 1985 debut, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, as one such release. Asked which Megadeth LP is his favorite, Mustaine answered, "Oh, that's hard to say. That's like asking somebody to pick their favorite child. There are certain records that are influential in my life. Peace Cells was. I think Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good was so ahead of its time and that people didn't really understand it. And that's when art is at its best, when you get something new that you've never heard before. When you hear a record and it's just the same old crap, nobody wants that." I would agree with that.
Yeah.
He never really answers that question, though. What's his favorite?
Well, yeah. But he covers his tracks, or he says it's hard to say. It's like picking one of your favorite children.
Well, it's not fucking Risk.
It better not be. Or a Super Collider.
While on the subject, Dave Mustaine mused on the perceived lack of young heavy metal sensations, adding, how long has it been since we've heard a new band that was really fantastic, like a new Iron Maiden or a new AC/DC or a new Megadeth or a new Guns N' Roses? We haven't heard a band like that in so long. That was something that we stopped and went, wow, that's great. However, the thrash icon is hesitant to give a diagnosis on the state of modern metal, as he explains that there are now so many offshoots that it's difficult to talk about heavy music as a singular movement. So that's that. Also, there's an article about Dave Mustaine reconnecting with his sister after 20 years. Dave said, "I got a shocking FaceTime video call from my sister Suzanne. Sadly, she's going to be leaving this earth in the next few days, as she is in the grasp of Parkinson's and dementia and is starting to have her organs shut down. That was hard enough, but the fact that we haven't spoken in probably 20 years is even worse."
Geez, Dave, whose fault is that? Pick up a phone, brother. Call Dave Ellison. Apologize. Just for example.
I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either.
Different scenario altogether.
Yeah, that's very true. Either I didn't realize or I forgot he had 3 older sisters. I know he had older siblings, but 3 older sisters. And look at that age range, man. 18, 15, and 3 before he was born. Or when he was born, I should say.
Yeah.
I can see the 3-year-old and him being close as far as family, but yeah, 18 and 15, maybe not so much. But I'd be curious. He doesn't mention why there was such a break in the discussions for 20 years.
I wonder if his book talks about it. It's been a while since I read it, so I don't remember some of those early days of his life that he talks about.
Yeah, I don't recall either. Now that you bring that up, good point on that. Well, here's a bit more of good news we got here. Kitty has announced a July/August 2024 North American headlining tour dates. I think I said A there, but they have announced those dates. My grammar notwithstanding here. So they have announced an exclusive run of North American headline dates recently. The long-awaited shows will see the band perform in 5 cities across the U.S. and Canada this July and August, giving fans a very special and rare chance to see the band play a full headline set that will include their recently released singles, We Are Shadows and Eyes Wide Open, as well as classic hits and some deep cuts not played live since the band's early days. Nate, you ever get into Kitty at all?
Not really. I mean, they had a song on the radio in the 90s, and I can't even remember what it was, but no. I know who they are. That's about it.
Yeah, I'd say scan through some of their stuff when you have time. I think you might dig some of it. I'm trying to think of Brackish. Is that the one you're thinking of? Isn't that the one that used to get radio play?
I don't remember.
I don't think they played Do You Think I'm a Whore on the radio.
Well, why not?
Not in the Twin Cities, at least. So they also added that we are absolutely thrilled to be headlining a handful of exclusive shows this summer in support of our forthcoming album. Expect a celebration of new and old material alike, spanning our 25-year career thus far. God, 25 years. It feels longer. I'm so, then again, I'm not. I know when I saw that number there, 25, it's like, God, has it been that long? But then part of it's like, kind of feels longer. That's just part of being old and weird, I guess. I mean, speaking for me, of course.
Yeah, speaking for yourself.
Exactly. So we're looking forward to playing some set list staples and bringing back some songs that we haven't played live in decades. Well, the 2.5 they've been around, I guess. Although limited, look for more shows to be announced at a later date. Okay, that's one thing I was curious about because there is not a lot of dates currently announced, so I'm glad to see that addendum there, that more shows will be announced at a later date. We've missed you, and we can't wait to see you again, they added. And I know they're doing some festival dates as well. So if you head to kitty.net, you can get all the information. And they recently just released that Eyes Wide Open. Oh, I'm sorry, they just recently released We Are Shadows, which followed Eyes Wide Open. So go check that out. They're going to be releasing an album on Sumerian Records. And they've had a 13-year hiatus. Damn, that's why it feels like it's been a while.
Because I
know they got a documentary out. Yes. Exactly. So here's something that Morgan Lander says. We Are Shadows is about the uncertainty of a future that we can no longer control. We have come to a crucial place in life in our world, and much like an eclipse overtaking the sun, we are losing the light. The image of shadows slowly fading in evening darkness, the analogy of us as shadows in the night, really illustrates the possibility of slowly fading into oblivion. It's not a song of hope, however, it's a song of coming to terms with the damage we do and accepting our fate. We let our darkness take hold, and we are resolved to fade into the night with it. And regarding the album direction, she said, there's a lot of variety. I think the kind of variety you will expect from Kitty. If you listen to the production of Eyes Wide Open, that kind of visceral, raw, and very modern sound is prevalent throughout all of the songs. The songwriting is definitely next level. So, album due later in 2024, but you'll be able to see them on tour sooner than that if you want to catch them. You may have to drive depending on where you live though. But one thing you won't have to wait for is our independent music here. So let's listen to The Headless Ghost. These guys, they hail from Italy. The album is titled King of Pain. I think this just came out sometime in the past month or two. At any rate, the song that I selected was the title track, and I hope you enjoy it. So check these guys out. They say this is for fans of King Diamond, Control Denied, Merciful Fate, Black Sabbath, Maiden, and Judas Priest. That's a lot of kick-ass bands right there. So interesting they pulled Control Denied in there, Nate, with you and I being Control Denied fans. That kind of piqued my interest right there when I saw that.
Yeah, I found that interesting as well.
So hope you guys enjoy this. Here you go. This is The Headless Ghost.
King of Pain, it's your name. King of Pain, please go away. King of Pain, it's your name. King of Pain, please go away. King of Pain, it's your name. King of Pain, please go away.
right, there you go. That was a Headless Ghost. From the album King of Pain, that was King of Pain. Those guys hail from Italy. Nate, you had a chance to check that out. What do you think?
I liked it a lot. I was very curious, of course. You sent me it to listen to, and you mentioned that it, for fans of King Diamond and Merciful Fate. So, of course, I was very interested because those particular bands aren't ones that always just come up as what somebody might sound like, in my opinion. But anyways, it's very good. Good metal, very good vocals. Yeah.
Yes, well done, guys.
I wonder what the Controlled Denied link is, though. I'll have to give it a deeper listen and see if it's some kind of technical aspect or something. All right. Dave Ellefson praises Overkill. They don't have a Risk or a Saint Anger anywhere in their catalog.
This is how I know Dave listens to the show.
Right. We all know this already.
Overkill fans.
I'm glad he's just getting around to figuring this out.
Well, better late than never.
In a new interview with the Metal Podcast, David Ellefson spoke about the recent announcements that New Jersey thrash metal veterans Overkill have recruited him to play the bass for the band on their scorching Latin American 2024 tour. The former Megadeth member has been filling in for original Overkill bassist Didi Verney, who is unable to make the show as he's recovering from a shoulder surgery. Expressing the excitement about being asked to fill in for Verney, Ellefson said, "They are dear friends of mine. I haven't played with Derek Traylor, the other guitar player, but it's funny, me and Dave Lynx, Overkill guitarist, actually wrote songs together after a NAMM show 15 years ago, maybe."
That's interesting.
And he and Joe Comio, who was the singer in Annihilator for a while, me, Dave Lynx, Joe Comio, and Jimmy DeGrasso, ex-Megadeth drummer, they all came out here to Phoenix and wrote a bunch of songs under a band called Atomic 66. I wasn't familiar with that.
Well, he goes on and see why.
Yeah. Dave's been reluctant to put them out. I've got to beat on him a little bit here this next month when we're together to put these songs out. If we could just put them up digitally, they're freaking cool, man. Super good.
I'm pulling for that. I'd like to hear that. I wonder if he's recycled any of that stuff for Overkill, though. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to put them out, because he's reused the riffs already.
Yeah, that could be. Elaborating on his long personal friendship with the members of Overkill, Ellefson said, "It's funny, Megadeth had Overkill on the Peace Sells tour. Overkill was out with us in 1987, so yeah, we're all brothers from the same neighborhood." And I always look, that just kind of puzzled me because they're from opposite ends of the country.
Musically, they're from the same neighborhood.
I always said, look, if there's a big four, if you add Exodus on the West Coast and Overkill on the East Coast, there's your big six right there. Okay. As for the challenges of learning the Overkill material over the course of several weeks, Ellefson said, look, I got to say, digging into these songs, they've got 20 records out consistently. They have made the best, most consistently great albums out of all of us, and I mean all of us. There's not a dud in the bunch, and you know what I mean? They don't have a Risk or a Saint Anger anywhere in their catalog.
Nice.
And Exodus has got good stuff too, but I think Overkill, now that I'm really digging into it and really understanding, it's just that. And Didi's amazing, man. Look, I may be David Ellefson, but I ain't no Didi Verde, man. I mean, the guy, he's a masterful songwriter.
Agreed.
And I just don't see the appeal of Exodus to the same degree that a lot of people do.
I'm right there with you. I'd pull Testament in over Exodus, although I do appreciate Exodus' contribution to the thrash genre as a whole.
Definitely.
Well, Nate, we knew this was going to happen sooner or later, and it finally has happened. And I know everybody's probably heard this all over the place and it's been beat to death, but we're going to kick this dead horse as well. Kiss's music catalog, brand name and IP acquired by Swedish investment firm Pop House. IP, intellectual property, by the way, just for those of you who don't speak the lingo. So Pop House has concluded a landmark agreement with the iconic band Kiss. Pop House is a Swedish entertainment and music investment firm renowned for its development of brand-building activities in music and entertainment, such as the groundbreaking ABBA Voyage show in London, in which Pop House is the founding investor. And actually, I think one of the guys who founded ABBA founded this, if I'm not mistaken. Pop House has acquired Kiss's artist's share of the master recordings and publishing rights. Financial terms of the transaction were not disclosed, but Fortune reports that the band is being paid over $300 million. Working closely with Kiss, Pop House will follow its unique value-add approach of drawing upon its world-class in-house creative and storytelling expertise to unlock new audiences and revenue streams. Pop House will use its proven industry-defining playbook to create new content and experience to enrich the KISS catalog for fans, old and new, actively seeking to enrich and add value to the brands and artists it partners with. Inclusivity and community have always been vital to the KISS experience, and Pop House is committed to nurture the close relationship between KISS and its devoted fans moving forward. Now, Johan Lagerlof, head of investments at Pop House, says, the band has consistently been able to appeal to new generations of fans, and our mission is to fulfill the band's vision to become immortal and to let new generations discover and be part of the KISS journey and carry it forward. With the help of the fans' energy, the band, our expertise, and creativity, we will make that vision happen. How do you feel about that, Nate?
I don't know.
I don't think it's for me, but if it makes new fans or makes old fans happy, I know it's been when they announced that whole Avatar thing, it got a lot of blowback. But again, then you got the fans that are going to stand up in front of all that blowback and take it all and say, you guys just don't get it. And more KISS is better than no KISS, and et cetera, et cetera. Tell you what, if it makes people happy, go for it. And if it makes this company go fold, then fine, so be it.
I could only really consider myself a casual fan of KISS anyways.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I very early on in my musical interests and love, I really enjoyed KISS, but they didn't continue on as any kind of a staple in my life, I guess.
Yeah, it was just kind of a song here or there. Or, I don't even know if I don't think I owned any of those 80s albums or 90s albums for a while. I think that came later. It was more just, hey, I dig that song or that song. But I think I had kind of moved on to thrash metal and just kind of appreciated KISS's early work and then a song here or there that I would listen to. This was a little bit surprising. Pop House actually acquired Cyndi Lauper's music catalog. I was kind of surprised to see that. Of course, she's not alone, and KISS, of course, is not alone. There's been Bruce Springsteen, Paul Simon, Bob Dylan, Stevie Nicks, and Neil Young. We talked about Neil Young. There's a few other of those people from that whole Spotify kerfuffle that have sold their rights, if I'm not mistaken. But at any rate, yeah, it's the new world order. So we'll see what happens. Well, they say Bob Dylan got $300 to $400 million for his. Of course, as Gene was talking about, he's like, nobody wants to listen to, or is it Gene or Paul saying, nobody wants to listen to The Times They Are Changing or Maggie's Farm. So KISS has kind of an edge on that. And Springsteen got $500 million for his. So there's a lot of information in this piece. Of course, we'll have a link at the show notes, DotWPod.com, if you'd want to dig a little deeper into that. But here I'll end with this. Is our analogy is Santa Claus / Superman. Imagery that is trademarked so that no one can reproduce. No other musical act has that. So there you go.
Cher says the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame can go fuck itself, sort of.
She censored herself. You'll see in a minute.
Cher has done a lot of things. She scored her first Hot 100 chart topper in 1965 and her last in 1999. At 52, Cher was the oldest woman to land a number one hit until last December when Brenda Lee broke the record. Cher sang backup on Christmas, Baby Please Come Home, and You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling. She helped modernize the variety show in the 70s and defied expectations in the 80s. She won an Oscar for Best Actress, the ubiquitous robotic auto-tune effect. Cher did that first. But Cher is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she thinks that's some bullshit. Last December, Cher...
I think that's some bullshit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, come on. If you're going to have fucking Joan Jett in there before Cher, what kind of stupidity is that? Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, well, we've already talked about how lame that whole thing is anyways. And last December, Cher was on the Kelly Clarkson show to promote her LP Christmas, and Clarkson was gushing over her astonishing decades-long run of hits. Cher said that only the Rolling Stones had done what she did. It took 4 of them to be one of me, and I'm not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Kelly Clarkson did not realize this, and she was scandalized. Cher continued, you know what? I wouldn't be in it now if they gave me $1 million. They can just go and you know what themselves. She added, I changed music forever with Believe. If you want to argue about the artistic worth of Cher's accomplishments, go ahead, but she's definitely made a bigger social or societal impact than most of the people who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just got to be honest. Of course I've heard about her all my life, but I didn't really ever consider any kind of importance she may have had in the music scene.
Really? You don't think she was influential throughout all the 70s and the 80s?
I'm just saying I've never paid attention to it, so...
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, during a recent Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night episode of American Idol, host Ryan Seacrest and Judge Lionel Richie revealed that Cher, Mary J. Blige, Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, and Ozzy Osbourne are being inducted, and A Tribe Called Quest are being inducted under the Performer category, which honors artists who have created music whose originality, impact, and influence has changed the course of rock and roll according to a release. Back in December, Cher added, I'm never going to change my mind. So is she going to be in there or not? Why was she listed?
That's kind of what I'm curious. Yeah, she, after they announced that she's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, there hasn't been any word from Cher on whether or not she's going to participate in this or not. But she said she wasn't going to. Maybe having it actually happen so quickly now will soften her heart a little bit.
I actually thought it when I very first read the headline. I was like, she's saying this till they say we're going to put you in there, and then it'll be all like, well, I guess. But I had not read this far into the article at that time, so maybe she's going to hold to her guns.
She could, unless she could turn back time. Well, speaking of turn back time, let's listen to some The Rods. These guys have been around since the 80s, 1980 to be exact. Actually, I just played these guys on Time Travel Radio 1980 Part 2. They're still going. These guys hail from the USA, New York, if I'm not mistaken. This is from the brand new album, Rattle the Cage. The song I selected is the title track. I guess I'm swinging for title tracks this week. Title track, of course, being Rattle the Cage. Check it out. And man, pay attention to the drums. Carl Kennedy can still wail on those things. Check it out. The Rods, Rattle the Cage. All right, there you go. That was the Rods from the album Rattle the Cage. That was the track Rattle the Cage. And if you want a little bit more of the Rods, go check out Time Travel Radio 1980 Part 2. Actually, check out both of them, Part 1, Part 2. I think 79 might still be up there on our feed. But man, there's some kick-ass stuff on those. I was just listening to it again today. I enjoyed not only putting those together, I also really enjoy listening to them. Great stuff on there. Check them out. But there you go. That was the Rods. We'll have links to these guys in the show notes, and the other bands that we played in the show notes, or the other independent artists in their show notes. So check them out, dotwpod.com. And hey, that will wrap the news. If you're in a band and you'd like to be considered to be played on the Disciples of the Watch podcast, please email us all the informative details and especially a link to download the song or preferably an album at music@dotwpod.com. And also I want to mention to stay tuned to this feed or hell, just subscribe so you can get it over with. We've got more independent music specials coming out. Of course, those are out every month. And a freshly released My Life in 4 Songs with Robert Carlson of so many bands. You have to go just dig into that one. And then, like I mentioned, Time Travel Radio Part 2 has just been released. Also, I didn't have it listed here, our Judas Priest, Worst to Best. We're getting some feedback on that. People seem to be enjoying that. And yeah, it's out there. So if you want to see how we feel about the Judas Priest catalog, 19 albums, they're right up, almost up there with Overkill, Nate.
Yeah, getting close.
A lot of work, but a lot of fun. Getting close. Of course, Overkill's already working on their next one. So they're at this rate, they'll always be ahead. But Halford's still sounding solid. And so's Blitz. And now for our final talker. I found this list a while ago and I thought, you know what? What the hell? Let's see what it's got to say and see if it's enjoyable to discuss. These are 10 of metal's one-hit wonders. It's not the top 10. It's just 10 being recognized as one-hit wonders. And I'm a little curious on that term on one of these bands, but maybe in the grand scheme of things, now they've had some time to reflect on it, maybe they are a one-hit wonder, but we'll see. So this was from Merlin Alderslade. And he writes, these metal bands all kicked out one classic anthem, but either failed to repeat the trick or disappeared completely. Metal doesn't exactly lend itself to the whole one-hit wonder shtick. That is, after all, a genre that is supposed to pride itself on eschewing pop norms, a scene built on albums and long-term creative vision rather than hastily chucking together a bop that might provide an easy paycheck and a quick moment in the sun. Nevertheless, over its 50-plus year existence, there have been a few bands that have managed to craft one standout anthem in their career. Whether it's bands that released one breakthrough single before disappearing completely, or scene veterans who once managed to briefly break into the mainstream before returning to the depths. Here are 10 metal one-hit wonders worthy of any rock club playlist. Nate, we're kicking off strong here with one of them, and that is Iron Butterfly, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. One-hit wonder, Nate?
I would say so, but are they heavy metal?
That'd be more of a proto-metal, I would say.
I would say so.
Here's what they write on that. It says, the first example of a metal one-hit wonder takes us all the way back to its inception, 2 whole years, in fact, before Black Sabbath released their game-changing debut album to officially put heavy metal on the map. San Diego's psychedelic rockers Iron Butterfly made a few waves during their initial 5-year run together, but it was undoubtedly 1968's hugely influential hit, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, that they'll forever be remembered for. A track so iconic that it was used by Bart Simpson to ruin a church service 30 years later. It also provided one of heavy metal's most foundational building blocks. Nate, I'm a little disappointed they didn't mention Slayer covering it.
Nope, they didn't, and it's a really good cover, actually.
It is. Actually, I'd prefer to listen to that over the original.
Yeah, the original's pretty cool, though. But
oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's fucking
I should
long.
do a one mother of a cover on that.
Right, that would be a good one for that.
So one thing I did do is I went to Spotify to pull the top 5 songs for each of these ones that are mentioned in this list, in this top 10. And In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida's got 34 million plays at number 1. Number 2, for Iron Butterfly is the remaster version of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida with another 15 million plays. So damn near 50 million plays, just that song alone for the band. And then it really dips down with number 3 getting to just over 2 million, getting kind of bordering on 3 million with Unconscious Power. Have you ever heard that one, Nate?
No. I know I've heard like the album that In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida is on, but that's my only familiarity.
Well, at number 4 is another re-recorded version of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, and that's got 2 million plays. And then their number 5 is Get Out of My Life, Woman, with just over 1 million plays.
I think
still pretty good amount of plays.
One of the musicians in that band was like I don't know if he's like a astrophysicist or something, and he like mysteriously disappeared. I'm pretty sure it's this band.
Really?
And I can't remember if it's like the guitar player or the bass player, but some Iron Butterfly lore.
Just want to make sure you're not thinking of Brian May, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, he was. He became a computer engineering executive and inventor. He disappeared in February of 1995 and was found dead in May of 1999.
Damn.
He was the bass player.
Wasn't he the one that coined the term In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida?
I'm not sure.
Okay, this may be apocryphal, but I could swear that they were trying to come up with the genesis of the song, what they were going to write the lyrics on, and he was really tripping or something like that, and he was trying to say, in the Garden of Eden.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's the story.
I think it was the bass player.
So there you go. Some weird occurrences with one of the members.
Oh, they were drinking wine. Oh, that was the drummer. My apologies, not the bass player. And it wasn't illegal substances, just wine.
Okay.
I like my story better.
Yeah, yours was way more interesting. But I'm glad we've got all the lore now sorted out.
Absolutely.
About Round Iron Butterfly.
It's what the fans crave. Up next, Drowning Pool. Nate, you a fan?
Nope.
You like the song at least?
Nah,
not even the song?
Not really.
Ah.
You a fan of the song?
I dig it. Yeah. I never really got into these guys, but I did like this song. So, of course, we're speaking of bodies. The nu metal era was undoubtedly the point where metal's capacity to produce one-hit wonders realized its zenith. See further below for plenty more evidence of that. One of the scene's biggest hits was 2001's Bodies, the irresistibly catchy, outrageously aggro banger by Dallas Bruiser's Drowning Pool. The shocking death of frontman Dave Williams the year following Bodies' release drastically curtailed the band's momentum, and while they eventually rallied and carved out a respectable career for themselves, they've never come close to matching the platinum-achieving, chart-crashing success of this ironclad classic. So Bodies, Nate, has 482 million spins, and then their number 2 from the same album, Tearaway, has 89.
That's massive, man.
Yeah, I remember that song being everywhere.
Me too. I do remember it.
It's like, be a good workout song.
If you're into that sort of thing.
I forgot. I've done that in karaoke a long time ago, back in the early 2000s to 2005, somewhere in that range. Shit, yeah, I just came flooding back all of a sudden. Up next, American Head Charge. Nate, you familiar with those cats, right?
I mean, I know who they are. I'm not super familiar with their music, though. I know that you're a fan, though.
Yeah, and they hail from the Twin Cities. They're almost up there with Prince as far as fame.
Almost.
That's there you go. Thank you.
Just one notch less of their influence.
If they had just captured that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis sound, they could really have just launched into the stratosphere. The song is Just So You Know from 2001, with a killer music channel dominating lead single Just So You Know, a freakish nu metal image of Rick Rubin's American Records and Slipknot icon Clown amongst their supporters. Industrial metalers American Head Charge had all the tools to make it massive. Sadly, it just didn't quite come together for them, and Just So You Know remains by far their biggest hit. Though, for what it's worth, the album from which it came, 2001's The War of Art, is well worth your time, and I would agree with that statement. Now, here's the problem. The album is not available on Spotify, so I couldn't compare notes, The only thing they have is their last album, and there's not a whole lot of plays on there. That band had fallen off drastically, but unfortunately, and I don't think we'll see anything more from them because I know their singer was deep into drug problems, and I think he had stolen a guitar from Guitar Center, and there was a huge problems. And of course, Chad Hanks had passed away as well, so I think he was one of the primary songwriters. They're definitely big part of their being a band and kind of trudging on. They only had like 4 albums, I think, in that whole time.
I find it interesting how they have to go into the nu metal genre to find one-hit wonders. They could have probably done a little bit more like in the hair metal for one-hit wonders, metal songs too. But
that's a good point. Yeah, Talk Dirty to Me. Come on. Well, then again, Poison had more than one hit, so that's probably why. Is maybe some of those bands had 2 hits.
Well, there is like one on here that we'll get to that as an example, or maybe 2. So I guess they have touched on it, but I just was kind of laughing that they've gone into the nu metal genre because a lot of the metal genres are pretty fucking solid, but they're not bands putting out hits though either necessarily. So
yep. Well, up next is Kix with the song "Don't Close Your Eyes" from 1988.
There you go.
I remember that being fucking everywhere, man.
Yeah, that was one of the bands that I was just mentioning from the 80s that was coming up. Kix.
Maryland glam metal mainstays Kix had a solid run of it from their emergence in the early 80s until their split in 1996. They also reunited in 2003, producing their first album in over 20 years with 2014's Rock Your Face Off. Never, though, did they achieve more mainstream relevance than with 1988 power ballad Don't Close Your Eyes. The stirring Lighters Up anthem, taken from Kix's 4th album, Blow My Fuse, landed in an impressive 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 and remains their most streamed track by a distance today. With the band's final show planned for later this year, they're running out of time to catch this glam metal classic live. And actually, this is from 2003, so that show that they mentioned there has already happened. So, their Spotify spins on this one, Don't Close Your Eyes, is 21 million plays. And then followed by Cold Blood at just over 7.5 million plays. So not too shabby there. And then Blow My Fuse is their number 3. All of those, of course, are from that same exact album. And then following that is Don't Close Your Eyes at number 4. So there's another 323 plays. And then Girl Money from some album. Not deep into the Kix lore there, Nate.
It probably falls under like guilty pleasure, but I like a lot of the power ballads and stuff from the 80s. And I don't know. I like ballady type stuff. I did back in the day too, though I wouldn't have ever admitted it. But anyways, I think the song is good and really catchy, and I don't know how I feel about it because I haven't listened to it in a long time, but I remember liking it when it was on MTV. But yeah, this would be it. I have no familiarity with anything else they could have possibly have done.
Well, how about this band, Nate? 5.0. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I have not heard of them. Have you?
Nor have I. I don't recall, at least. The song is Double X Minus from 2002. So here we're back to the nu metal stuff here for you, Nate. Oh boy, let's see if I can do this without running it. Cha Kaka Pow. I think that's how the song starts. Cha Kaka Pow.
Nice. You nailed it.
Signed to Roadrunner while nu metal was still very much in vogue, Illinois Crew 5.0 certainly got given the right platforms to make the most of their shot at the big time. Double X Minus was getting airplay left, right, and center on the likes of Kerrang! And MTV's Headbangers Ball, and the band themselves landed a dream slot opening up for Killswitch Engage in 36 Crazy Fists on the very first incarnation of Roadrunner's legendary Road Rage tour. Unfortunately, the band fell apart after that first album, leaving 5.0's career shelved very much under the What If section of metal's great tapestry. Their plays on Spotify have not been nearly as impressive as some of the other ones we've mentioned. They're just shy of 2 million plays with Double X Minus, and then they fall under 1 million with the rest of the songs, with The Affinity following that, and then Breathe Machine falling way off from that. And some of these, I think when I am doing research for the show, and I forgot to even look on this one, it seems like you'll get like the first song or the title track, and people kind of cherry pick. They'll go in like, oh, I want to check this out and check this out. And if people aren't listening, or if they're just going in like order of track 1, 2, and 3, sometimes you'll see everything falls off drastically because the band sucks or the release sucks, and people are only looking for like that specific thing, but then it falls off. So when you go from song 1 to song 10, depending on where that hit was put in there, it just, you can see that decline, and it's constant, but it's not all the time, but it's kind of telling is what I'm saying, as far as bands with weak full releases, that people just are like, oh, this is a good song, and then they go, okay, this song's not so good, and eventually they just stop listening because it sucks. I can't say that on this one though, but I did listen to a smidge of this when I was getting ready for the show, and just don't remember it.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check out that Double X Minus, because it looks like that's their popular one, but I have no remembrance of them. I've seen Killswitch Engage twice, at least, in concert as openers for other bands.
Who knows? Maybe it'll turn you into a new metal fan.
I can't wait.
Nor can I. Well, here's one from our neck of the woods, Nate. Autograph, Turn Up the Radio from 1984. Glam metal has a lot to answer for when it comes to churning out also-rans, but as far as one-hit wonders from that particularly hair-sprayed era of metal history goes, you could do a lot worse than this 1984 chart-invading classic from Pasadena rockers Autograph. Like many bands on the list, Autograph have had a mightily respectable, lengthy career in their own right, but nothing they've put out has had the same commercial impact as Turn Up the Radio, which peaked at number 29 on the Billboard Hot 100. Nate, fan of this one?
I mean, just probably more out of a nostalgic, for that reason. It's pretty lightweit.
You don't have this on a bunch of playlists?
No, I have none on none playlists.
Oh man,
you do?
I don't do much for playlists, but I would, when I go to Time Travel Radio and I get to 1984, you goddamn right this song's going to be on it.
Well, hey, I've been wanting to mention this on the show, and this is a perfect time to do it. Cobras and Fire podcast, Baco, one of the hosts of the show, of the podcast, he's doing the top 100 hair metal albums of the 80s. And the first episode is out. It's 100 through 91. I was listening to it while I was working, and was not expecting that it was just a portion of it, and it ended, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like totally sucked into it. So not expecting it to be over, but I guess then that's leaves you wanting to get on to the next one. So it sounds like he's going to have those out every other week. It's really cool. There's some bands on there that I hadn't heard of, and I'm very familiar with that scene. I was super into music, obviously, at that time, and even though I didn't like a lot of it because I quickly got into extreme metal, but I remember all of it, or a lot of it. So he plays clips of songs, and there's other contributors that he that helped him with it. But anyways, if you're into that genre of music at all, check it out. It sounds pretty exhaustive so far.
Yes, I would agree with that. I also did participate in that. So some of those rankings are influenced by, in a minor way, by my contribution on that. I don't know if I'll get name checked on anything. I don't think there's anything I had to say or had to or any. I don't think I'd have any surprise rankings. I know he'll call out some surprise rankings on there, so we'll see how things roll out. But yeah, it's been nice to kind of revisit some of that history, and I'm not too worried about the rankings part of things. It's just more of a catch a band that, who knows, maybe it'll turn you on to them. This
a band is on there, Autograph, which is why I brought it up here at this moment.
That's right. I forgot. Thank you. Yeah, I think it gets high marks because it's a well-known song, but the rest of the album, not so much. So that's why it's in that 91 through 100 range. Or was that one of them that fell out of the 100 and he gave an honorable mention to? I don't recall now.
I can't remember now either, but I think it was in the ranking.
90 to 100, or in the ranking system. Okay, cool. Well, here's one you're not going to hear on Baco's list. Soil. Their song Halo from 2001. We're back to the new metal, Nate.
Yeah.
Well, this is an instant rock club dance floor classic that emphatically answered the question of what Pantera might sound like if they were given a new metal makeover. Halo is just about as perfect a fun, catchy 3 minutes of heavy music as you can hope to hear. The Chicago metalers have pretty much dined off of it for 2 decades, despite putting out no fewer than 7 albums across their career. Damn. They've written plenty decent songs in that time, but none have come anywhere near close to matching the enduring success of Halo. And to be fair, if you're going to be known for one track, you could do a lot worse. Halo, Nate, you got to be familiar with this one.
I can't think of it. I am familiar with Soil, but I'd have to listen to it to see if I remember it. But offhand, I don't recall.
Now, this next one is one that this is where I kind of take a little bit of umbrage with, and we'll discuss it, and then you can tell me if I'm wrong, Nate. Living Colour, The Cult of Personality from 1988. Given their first 3 albums all charted in the U.S. Billboard Top 30, it seems a little unfair to include alt-rock/funk metal heavyweights Living Colour in a list like this. The fact remains, however, that Cult of Personality isn't just by a distance their biggest single, but has a legacy that completely dwarfs anything else the New Yorkers have put their name to. Boasting over 10 times as many streams as any other track in their catalog, 120 million and counting if you're asking, it reached a new generation of fans when WWE legend CM Punk used it as his theme tune from 2011 onwards. And I add a little addendum to this is right before we went to record, Vernon Reid is also working on his own signature series guitar. I don't feel this is a one-hit wonder band. I think this is a band that had a hit that broke boundaries, that broke people who maybe wouldn't listen to music like that into it. But one hit, man, that feels.
Well, what are other
like
songs that people would know?
Open Letter to a Landlord, Glamour Boys.
So if somebody said, "Hey, I've never heard," I don't know if I've heard this band. Can you tell me some songs I may have heard, but you can't say Cult of Personality?
I would say those ones that I just mentioned.
Okay.
Actually, and I would lean towards Open Letter to a Landlord. I remember that one being a minor hit back in the day.
I don't recall any other songs other than the Cult of Personality. And I know there's fans of them out there, so I don't want to say, they didn't grab me at all, but definitely remember them being on MTV, a staple.
Oh yeah.
When the song came out.
The body glove outfits, and all that shit. Yeah, and I'm glad they're still going. It just, one hit wonder felt like, and they kind of backpedal a little bit on that, but they, just by pointing out how successful this one song was. So yeah, if you're going to go to a Britney Spears fan, there's a possibility she's heard this song. But if you go to an average metal fan, most likely they've heard this song. And they probably heard some of the other songs, depending on how deep they go into, like the alt rock /funk metal genre, or if they're, if they dabble at all in these circles. I think they're calling them a one-hit wonder. I think kind of lessens their impact and their catalog overall. It just seemed like this one was one that they should really have tried harder to backpedal on, including them on the list, even if including them all together. I was just kind of curious on your input on that one, if you remembered them from the days, and if you had any experiences beyond that song. So as far as you're concerned, they're a one-hit wonder.
I would have agreed with it, yeah.
Okay. Well, you have to agree with this one because I do. Up next, Green Jelly, or Green Jello, for those of you who are old enough to remember. The song was Three Little Pigs. Now, you got to remember this one being huge back in the day, Nate, right?
I love this song, and I wish I would. I wish I still had the cassette when it was Green Jello, because it did quickly change to Green Jelly. But I did have this on cassette, and I did have it as Green Jello. And for some reason, I can't remember other songs on the album, but I thought that the album was good. And I kind of want to hear it now, but yeah, just seeing this just like brings back so many memories. This song is just awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, this is the only song that I'm familiar with this band, but I also should probably do my due diligence and dig a little deeper. And they're still kind of playing, they're still out there playing around and stuff. But anyhow, here's what they had to write up on this one. If you want an indicator of just how bonkers the 90s could be, how about this for size? A comedy metal band featuring future Tool drummer Danny Carey wrote a song based on the beloved children's fable Three Little Pigs. Roped in Maynard James Keenan, Les Claypool, and Pauly Shore to guest vocals, and bagged a UK top 5 single for their efforts. Damn! Yes, you read that right. Top 5. After splitting 2 years after this 1993 hit, Green Jelly returned in 2008 and have been rolling along ever since. But it's fair to say that this was a real once-in-a-lifetime achievement. Little Pigs has over 12 million plays on Spotify. The next one goes all the way down to just over 1.5 million with The Bear Song. There you go, Nate. Obey the Cow God. That's off that same album. Electric Harley House of Love and Serial Killer. Ooh, that one rings a bell.
Yeah, see,
Serial Killer.
some of these are ringing a bell for sure. I'm going to go back and listen to this album for sure. Yeah. What a fun one to have come up on the list.
This one, yes, I agree. This one actually just reminded me of Scatterbrain. You remember them? Down with the Ship?
I don't offhand.
Oh, maybe they don't consider that a one hit, but I do. I would say that you could throw Scatterbrain on this list there too, or Gary Hoey with his cover Wipeout, or is it Wipeout or what? He did Lowrider too, but I think it was Wipeout that had there's one of them. Anyhow, I digress. Finally, to wrap up this list with the 10th, but again in no specific order, Trapped, Headstrong from 2002, and of course we got to end with a new metal song for you, Nate. Please tell me you've heard this one being abused on Twin Cities Radio.
I'd have to hear it. The name of it is not, it's not triggering any memories.
I'm actually surprised this was a one-hit wonder. I would have thought, based on the strength of this album and this song, that they would have had others, but I'm also not a Trapped fan, but apparently they are a one-hit wonder from the 2000s.
Wow, a lot of streams on Spotify. Holy fuck.
Yeah. We'll get to that here in a sec. Briefly relevant again for a couple of minutes in the late 2010s, thanks to frontman Chris Taylor Brown using their social media accounts to out himself as a trolling hard right plonker. Trapped initially made their first and only big splash with their Wrestle Metal Jam Headstrong. Wrestle Metal Jam. Nate, have you ever heard that term?
Not until this moment.
Wow, Wrestle Metal Jam. I'm going to have to see if I can slide that in.
It's no wonder I've never
forward.
listened to these people. That just sounds like the last kind of metal genre I'm interested in hearing.
I don't think you'll like this song, but I have a feeling you'll remember it when you hear it. But back to the thing here. Released as a lead single from their self-titled 2002 major label debut album. The track impressively debuted in the top 20 of the Billboard Hot 100 and has racked up an eye-watering 363 million, that was as of that writing, streams on Spotify. So really, Brown shouldn't have much to be angry about. This is currently at, as of today, 412 million spins, almost 500 billion spins.
I do know this song. Okay. And I do remember it. Okay. Yeah.
I was going to say it was fucking everywhere, man. Now this one I'm wondering, when you look at the top, or their top 5 from Spotify, because it does drop off. It's precipitous drop off from that one first song at 412 million down to 22 million. And that's even on a different album. Who's Going Home With You Tonight? And then everything else is off of that first album. Echo, Still Frame, and These Walls.
This was Linkin Park had a song, right, around the same time that was kind of a similar style of music.
Probably. Somewhere I Belong. That one jumps into my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a surprising one. They're a one-hit wonder. I did not realize. Well, now we know, Nate. We educate ourselves a little bit on new metal. I hope you're happy.
Well, you're not going to get far on bro wrestle jam metal.
I've never heard that. Oh man, I really want to dig into the wrestle metal jam.
Where does that fit in on the metal family tree? I'm curious.
It's got to be an offshoot of new metal. I think you got to look at one of the nuts on that family tree, and you'll get to wrestle metal jam. Damn. Oh man. So there you go. That was list. So a little bit for the old and a little bit for the new. But still a little bit of fun there. So Nate, I decided to choose the one to go out on. Now, what I did do is I picked a band off of this list, but I decided to go with the follow-up album, which I felt was a strong album, especially this song. And I decided to pick Minnesota's own American Head Charge to wrap the show up with. The album is titled The Feeding, and I don't recall if Rick Rubin had much to do with this one. I know he was very much involved in that first album, and he may have do what he kind of does and falls away after that. I don't recall, though, off the top of my head. And I'm not real deep into the lore of American Head Charge either. I do remember that their singer was having some difficulties, though, and hopefully he's doing okay now. I think he's still alive, but I know Chad Hanks, unfortunately, has passed away, and he was working with kids at the School of Rock at the time of his passing as well. So a pillar of the community, seemingly at least. Somebody out there may disagree. But at any rate, we're going to sign off with American Head Charge from the album The Feeding. The song I selected to share is Loyalty. And until next time, my friends,
stay heavy.
It's just a reason to deny all the limits that border on the thinnest frailties that makes a sudden change. I'll play my soul into sleep. I'll make up words and I keep letting nothing go to anyone. Where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. Where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. All of them bleed at the nerves that take so long to wear down. I'll play my soul into sleep. I'll make up words and I keep letting nothing go to anyone. Where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. Where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. This time I have made enough mistakes for you to bear against me. Endure and break our original ideals and let us down and betray our trust like all your promises. I say a piece of shit alive in you. Cause I'm there enough to be true. This time I have made enough mistakes for you to bear against me. Endure and break our original ideals and let us down and betray our trust like all your promises. Where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. Where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table.
I may be David Ellefson, but I ain't no Dee Verdi.
thank you for listening to Disciples of the Watch. This episode was produced by Gene Vogel and Nathan Matnich. All music is property of the artist or the publisher. Please buy music and support the art we all love. Editing on this episode was done by Gene Vogel. Check out our website, DotWpod.com, for show notes, links, and more information on the show, as well as connections to social media. Don't forget to subscribe to the show using your preferred podcast application, or use our FeedBurner RSS feed listed on our website. Plug it into your browser or whatever app you're using, and then you will get all of the goodness moving forward. And you can also download the show as MP3 files from DotWpod.com. If you'd like to support the show, please click on the Support Us link at our website. As well, we have Patreon, so you can do a monthly contribution if you so desire, or purchase some of our merch from our website. Thank you for listening, friends, and stay heavy.